Welcome to another Pollock Academy, where we're going to look at the Readjuster Party in Virginia. This was a unique, progressive, flash-in-the-pan political party that emerged out of post-Reconstruction in the 1880s. While only lasting a short while, the legacy of the Readjusters can be seen today. In this video, we'll cover who the Readjusters are, the rise and fall of the political party, and connect a familiar Virginia university that was born out of Readjuster policies. The Readjuster Party was not just a political party, but a political machine, meaning it was an organized group, usually led by a single individual, who garnered support to hopefully place certain individuals in public office. You might have heard this term before with New York City's Tammany Hall, led by William Boss Tweed in the late 1880s. In this case, the Readjuster Party was led by a different William Mahone. William Mahone was a former Confederate general and railroad leader who made a name for himself at the Battle of the Crater during the Civil War. If you drive Route 460 west here in Virginia, you're driving on William Mahone Highway. Let's pause to talk about William Mahone. After the Civil War, he went back to his old job on the Norfolk and Petersburg Railroad, and he soon founded a railroad conglomerate called the Atlantic, Mississippi, and Ohio Railroad, and they controlled over 400 miles of rail travel between Norfolk in the east and southwestern Virginia, Tennessee in the west. Shout out to the Petersburg Visitor Center for taking me up to William Mahone's office in the refurbished Southside Railroad Depot, which is not only the headquarters of his company, but it was the Readjuster Party headquarters as well. Petersburg still has many of the period buildings today, and this view would have been pretty close to what Mahone would have seen daily. Now, back to Pollock Academy. Mahone was motivated to start the Readjusters by many economic factors after the Civil War and Reconstruction years. I'll quickly run through this. It had to do with Mahone wanting to readjust Virginia's debt in the early to mid-1800s. Virginia was in a pretty bad place economically before the Civil War, and we know the years following were rough, especially on the southern states. By the 1870s, Virginia had amounted a debt with interest to the tune of $45 million, and Virginia would not get back to antebellum or pre-Civil War production levels until 1880. Now, how are we going to reduce this $45 million debt? Well, a rival group known as the Funders started to implement policies that would raise property taxes and taxes on luxury items like alcohol to make a dent. The Funders also made a big cut to the funding of vital public service programs, mainly public schools. Mahone and his Readjuster Party saw an opportunity to gain support from Virginia's recently enfranchised black voters, which was about 1/3 of Virginia's electorate. He planned to run on a platform not just of economic fairness, but to run on a progressive ticket that would benefit everyone. And in March of 1881, 300 African-American men in Petersburg, Virginia, came together to support the Readjuster Party, and they would use this mutual partnership to exercise their new political power as promised during Reconstruction. The Readjuster Party would control Virginia politics from 1881 to 1884, with a biracial coalition that won seats in the General Assembly and 7 seats in the House of Representatives. Over those few years, Readjusters won victories for the abolition of poll taxes, chain gangs, dueling, and most importantly, increasing funding for the state's public schools. The fall of the Readjusters came at the hands of a violent instance in Danville, Virginia during November of 1883. The Readjusters had taken over the city council of Danville and other similar industrial cities. There was a racially motivated attack between white and black citizens that resulted in the deaths of 5, 4 African Americans and 1 white citizen. The opposition to the Readjuster Party obviously used this event to perpetuate the view that Readjuster rule or any African American governmental majority was violent and unsafe. The Readjuster Party will soon lose control of previous public offices, and Virginia regressed on the progress of the rights of freedmen and African Americans. Jim Crow laws were passed, such as the Anderson-McCormick Act in 1884, and then 10 years later, the Walton Act in 1894, made it extremely difficult to exercise the right to vote by putting unnecessary barriers and literacy tests into voting, and this lasted for the next 70 years. Even though the Readjusters' successes were short-lived, their legacy endured. One that we can see today is the founding of Virginia Normal and Collegiate Institute, now known as Virginia State University, in 1882. We already know that public education was a top priority for the African American support of the Readjuster Party, and Virginia Delegate Alfred Harris introduced a bill that would establish the first state-funded African American institution of higher education, fully run and facilitated by African Americans. Virginia State University lays a wreath at Alfred Harris's grave on their Founders Day, March 6. Thank you for watching Pollock Academy, the Readjusters in Virginia.